Welcome, and today we are going to talk about meditation. If you do not meditate, I'm going to help you out. We're going to do a guided one so that you can know exactly what it is that you're doing. So I did a YouTube collab the other day, and I have done a session for this woman, and so she kind of described the sessions that I would do like I'm taking someone into a dream, but then I'm there with that person in the dream. And so the state that you are in, you know, that state that you're in when you're like driving down the highway, you arrive at your destination, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm here. I don't even remember passing this place or that place. So it is that state that you're in, is that theta state, but because your eyes are closed, the longer that the session goes on, the more it does begin to kind of feel like you're just in a guided dream. So this is essentially kind of what meditation is like, but it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. So this practice is something that can develop over time. Now, some people meditate to get to that space of complete nothingness. So, you know, this is a good place to go, but I would always get so many intuitive hits. Like I would have so much information, downloads coming to me during this time that I didn't have a lot of that actual silent time of nothing. Okay, so if you were new to this, if you're new to meditation, you've never done it before, you're going to feel like you suck at it, and you might actually suck at it when you start doing it, but you will get better. Just like anything, if you do not practice, you're going to be terrible at it. Just like, you know, I don't know how to do, let's say shot put. You know, I suck at shot put. Why? Because I don't do it all the time. But if I did it regularly, I would get better at it. So this is the exact same thing. Meditation, it just takes some work. So let me kind of tell you what it is first. So, you know, there's prayer. And so my idea of prayer and how it was practiced in my life, you know, for the first however many 30 years of my life, was that I was praying kind of at God, right? So I'm like praying like, you know, God, please make this happen or that happen or whatever it was, but I'm doing all the talking. You know what I'm saying? Whereas meditation is that same communication, but it is the listening. You're not talking at God, you're letting God, the divine, tell you what you need to know. You're hearing the response. And so some people might say, well, I sit there and I don't get nothing. Well, keep sitting there. You know, it just takes practice. And I know when I would go up to my cabin, you know, I could meditate for 45 minutes, you know, and I'm sitting there and I'm getting information and I'm getting things, and it can become addicting. Like you just want more and more of it. So if you have not meditated, if it's not a thing that you do regularly or do at all, know that even though it might suck when you're starting out doing it, it does become something that's very enjoyable. And the more often that you do it, the quicker you will be able to put yourself into that proper state, because that's really the whole meal deal, is getting yourself into that theta state. Now, I do this very quickly because I've been doing this for years and years with my clients. Every time that I put them into state, I'm also putting myself into state. This is why, you know, that woman said it's kind of like I'm in a dream with, you know, myself, that I'm putting that person into a dream state, but that I'm also there with them, which this is very accurate, because when I'm putting that person into that dream state, the theta, I'm also putting myself in that state, and by doing this, I am now extremely connected. I'm in the same energy field as that person. So whatever intuitive hits that I'm getting, that I'm like, oh, I feel like this person is here, or that this message needs to come through, or this or that, I'm completely in tune with that person. And so many people after the fact are like, you know, how are you doing that? Like, you said this, and I was just seeing that thing right as you said it. And it is because I'm truly there with you in that energy. So this is extremely beneficial, and I would say that many practitioners that do similar work to what I do, if you're doing energy healing or subconscious healing, all of the intuitives, the same. What they have done is they have tuned into your energy, and this is why the sessions that they do with you are so effective, and that they might bring up things that you're like, oh, you know, like, how did they know this? How did they know that? How did they bring this up? Or whatever it is. And it is actually because they're in your energy. So when we talk about meditation, we're putting ourselves into this same theta state, but by putting ourselves into that state, we're getting rid of all the conscious things that are around us, and by doing that, we are really putting ourselves in the state of spirit. We are putting ourselves in the state of the spirit, our soul. And so this deep level that is there within us, this soul state, there is all kinds of realizations that can come. There's all kinds of messages that can come. And this is where you truly can get those channeled messages from the divine. So how to get yourself into the state is very simple. Basically, you start with your eyes closed. And then to get yourself into that, you could just count yourself back from 10 to 1. So then you would, imagine the number 10, let it disappear. Imagine the number 9, let it disappear. And the whole time that you're doing this slowly, and you're just breathing. You're just slow and breathing with your eyes closed. You'll think about the number 10, okay, think about the number 10, and then you take a breath. Then you think about the number 9, and then, you just let yourself be nice and calm, and then you take a breath. So you would count from 10 to 1. Then you're going to tell yourself, so this is called autogenic training, what I'm about to teach you here. And autogenic training is essentially you telling your body to do something. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Wim Hof, but his basis, is learning to control your body temperature and your breathing and things like that. And so this is autogenic training. You're basically giving your body commands of, you feel this way. And then your body actually behaves and listens. And like anything else, just with meditation, with the shot put thing, with whatever you practice, you become really good at it. So I used to do this neat thing with my kids. Don't worry, I'll get back on track here in a minute. But I would take both of my hands, and I would have my kids put their hand in between my hands, but not actually touching them, right? So I'm a couple inches above, a couple inches below, and their hand, they just put in between my two hands. Then, with intention, with thought, using this autogenic training, I would either imagine that there was ice cubes in my hands, or I would imagine that I had a fire burning in my hands. And then I would, have my kids be like, okay, what is it, hot or cold? And they would get it right every single time. So I'm not actually touching them, but this is the energy that's being emitted. So your body truly does listen to what you tell it to do and what you program it to do. Our bodies are amazing. Okay, so once you've counted from 10 all the way down to 0, then we use the autogenic training, which, how is it that you feel when you are truly relaxed, when you're like almost about to fall asleep? Do you feel comfortable, heavy, deep, light, relaxed, or some other way? What word suits you the best? Now you're going to pick that word. Mine would be, we'll say heavy. And after you've counted from 10 down to 1, then you're going to tell yourself that word 10 times. So you're doing all this in your head. So you would then tell yourself, if your word was heavy, or if it was comfortable or relaxed or whatever it was, or maybe it's deep, you would tell yourself heavy, 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 or comfortable, 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 or relaxed, relaxed. And as you're telling yourself this, your body is then listening. And like I say, the more you practice, the better you'll get. So, at some point, when you practice this a lot, you will be able to close your eyes, and it should take, approximately 7 seconds to put yourself into the proper state. But when you're starting out, I always tell my clients when they come to me, I'm going to get you into the proper state, and it's going to take 2 minutes to 20 minutes. So it totally depends on the person, but they're going to get into the state. Now, here's the deal. When you get into the state, this does not mean that your mind is not going to have things pop into it, or that your mind's not going to wander around. Some people are like, you were talking to me and I was trying to listen, but I was also thinking about this or thinking. It does not matter. That doesn't matter. Your conscious mind might be off doing its little thing over here, but your subconscious mind is the one that we're concerned about. And that's the one that once you get it into the proper state, it doesn't matter if your conscious mind is wandering around, because your subconscious is now listening. So you know the steps so far. Count from 10 down to 1, and then you're going to tell yourself that word, relaxed, comfortable, heavy, deep, light, whatever it was, 10 times. Okay, now you're just going to sit there. Now, when you're sitting there, to add to this, you could listen to the hum of your air conditioner or your furnace. You could listen to the hum of the fridge. You could listen to, maybe birds chirping outside or other sounds that are there. And if there is absolute dead silence and nothing to listen to, and you need to keep your mind distracted, then you could hum. You could just go, and you could just keep doing this over and over and over and just having yourself into that relaxed state. Why? Because this is keeping your mind busy and occupied with that sound, meaning it's not thinking about something else. And so you could practice doing this, and when you want to start out meditating, maybe you're only going to do this for 2 minutes. So don't sit there with a goal of like, well, I got to meditate for 15, 20 minutes, 45 minutes. No, you don't. You're starting out, so you just do whatever little bits you want to do. So maybe you sit there and you hum, or maybe you sit there in the silence and you just sit there in the blackness and the stillness and the nothingness for as long as you possibly can. Another hot tip. If you have things that keep popping into your head and you're like, oh, this is not even doing me any good because, these things keep popping into my head. Okay, then you can ask yourself, and you can do this as many times as is necessary. I wonder what thought I'll think of next. And then whatever pops into your head, you'll be like, oh, that's the thing I thought of. Excellent. And then let it go. Let it just like swoosh away. Ask yourself the same question again. I wonder what thought I'll think of next. And what pops into your head? Okay, interesting. Observe what it is. Interesting. That's what I'm thinking about. You're just the observer. You don't need to then do anything about the thought that popped into your head other than observe. Oh, that's what came into my head. Let it go. Ask yourself again, I wonder what thought I'll think of next. And at some point, maybe it'll take 4 or 5 times, there's not going to be another thought that comes into your head. Your mind is going to get bored, and it's going to be like, I don't know, I don't even want to think of anything. There we go. Primo. You're in it now. And so then when you get to that state, you just want to sit into that state for as long as possible. Now, when you are in this state, you might then, once you have reached that state, you might then have downloads that come to you. Some new creative idea, some kind of something or other. But I'm going to tell you guys what I do. So first of all, I close my eyes. And because I've been doing this for such a long time, I don't do that full process. I just count from 7 to 1. But sometimes it only takes me about 3 seconds. So I'm just going to count from 7 down to 1. And then I'm imagining myself shooting way up into the sky. And I arrive at this place. And it's always the same place. It's kind of like if you were in a giant palace or a mansion. Not even a mansion. It would have to be a palace or a castle of some sort. But there's this huge room, and it's like there's a pulpit kind of at the front of it, and every time that I show up, I'm like, I'm here, and God, the divine, is like, oh, good, I'm glad you're here. But I can never actually see the divine. All I'm seeing is this pulpit, and I know that the divine is right there behind it and is always so happy to see me. And so then I'm like, all right, what do we got today? So if I'm channeling a message, you guys know how long that takes me to tune in. A couple of seconds. This is where I'm going. This is the thing. This is where I'm getting the information from. So I imagine myself going up, getting up there into that place, and it's like, hey, what do you want to tell me today? So I had a client yesterday, and she was just wonderful. And she says that she takes pictures of her daily devotional after she reads it in the morning so that she has it on her phone so that she can look at it and she can read it again and again throughout the day. And I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful. And it just so happened to be that her daily devotion said in it, when you meditate, always include me so that I'm there with you. So if you are meditating, always just pull Jesus into it. Let him be there with you. Pull the divine into it. Whatever it is, wherever you get that comfort and wherever you get, whatever it is that you need, always include the divine or Jesus, the Spirit, into your meditation and set that as your intent before you ever even begin. Because as you include the divine or you include Jesus into your meditation, this is where your answers come from. So rather than praying at some God that you feel like can't communicate back with you or that you can't hear from, absolutely, yes, you can hear from the divine. You can hear from Jesus. You can do this every day, all day long. You could do it endlessly. But putting yourself into this state and then inviting Jesus to be there and be like, hey, man, what do you want to tell me today? And he's going to tell you something. He's going to tell you something good, for sure, as is the divine. Now, you might think, oh, I hope that he's there, but I don't know that he will be. Dude, I'm telling you, expect it. Does the divine love you? Yes. Do you believe this? Yes. Does Jesus love you? Yes. If you believe this, then why would he not show up for you? There's no reason why he would not. And you might think, oh, well, he shows up for other people. I'm not a good enough person for him to show up. This is absolutely not true. I had this conversation with my sister this morning. We went out for coffee, did a little shopping. I bought a cute little box from an antique store with some dogs on it. It's so cute. We go out and we were talking when we were at the coffee shop, and she said, people, where was I going with this? Now I forget what she was gonna say. Oh man, it was good too. Dang it, when that happens, oh man, it's gone from me. It'll come back. Whew, that's disappointing. But it was something to do with meditation. Had something to do with, oh man, now I don't know. So she was telling me that she's been listening to my videos here on YouTube, that she's been listening to them, and that she was listening about meditation, and that she thought, it was kind of difficult, that she felt like she wasn't really doing it right, or didn't really know, and said, had she not done all these hypnosis sessions with me before, she would really feel like she wouldn't have been able to get there in the meditation, that she wouldn't have been able to do it because she just was questioning herself so much about it. So just know this, you can't do it wrong. It's all the intent that you're putting out there. And so if your intent is something good, like, okay, I'm doing this to connect with the divine, then that is your intent, and that's what you're going to get out of it. So just holding the intention of, I want to hear messages from the divine. And so then you will. And these messages, you might question yourself and you might think, oh, I made this up. But does it really sound like you? Probably not. The things that come to you is things that you wouldn't just normally say in a conversation. It's stuff that wouldn't normally come up. And so then this is how you know. I channeled a book back in 2018 called The Way to Peace. You can buy it on Amazon. It's pretty cheap, but it's talking about, there's many things. It's talking about the divine and this and that, but the whole entire book was this channeled message that I got while I was in a meditative state, that I was told to write when I was sitting at my cabin up on the dock in a meditative state. So this is, like about 6 years ago now. And so the divine told me, I want you to write this book. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I was like, well, how? And so the divine said, just come to me through meditation, and I will give you the words, and then write them down. And then when you're done, you're done. And then come back to me later and, keep writing. So I didn't write for quite some time. And then one day it was like, okay, I'm starting. And so I sat down, I wrote for, I don't know, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes, something like this. Then I closed the book up. Didn't even read what I wrote, just closed it up. Come again the next day, do the same thing, do the same thing, do the same thing. And so now at some point I've been doing this for several days, but I haven't read any of it. So I then think, you know what? Like maybe none of this is going to make any sense. Maybe it doesn't flow together because I keep chopping it up. You know what I mean? Like I'm writing one thing and then the next day I'm writing a different thing and whatever it is, but I'm not paying attention because this is purely channeled. Just like how when I channel messages for you guys, I don't know what the frick I said. If I listen to it, then I'll be like, oh, ooh, that was actually pretty good. But I don't remember it after the fact. This was the same as this book. So I decide, okay, I better read this. And so I start reading it and I'm like, holy cow. like one thought ends and the next begins, but it was seamless. It just like flowed perfectly all together, that I was like, this is from the Spirit. This is a gift from the Spirit that is being delivered through my hand. Now, one of the things that me and my sister did talk about this morning was the collective consciousness, and this is written in this book. And so it is talking, I know we've talked about the 100th monkey experiment, but it is talking about the collective and how you walk into a room. Somebody's in a real bad mood. Now, depending on where you're at in your life, you walk in, they're in a bad mood. You can either, you have a choice, you have a decision to make. Are you going to allow that bad mood to permeate then your aura and you are now in a bad mood too? Or are you going to choose to not allow that negative energy to affect you and for you to stay in whatever state that you were in? You have a choice. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but you do have a choice. However, the collective does not work this way. The collective goes with the majority. It cannot help itself. So the earth right now, the vibration, the frequency that the earth is in the same frequency and the same vibration as the collective. Now, you might have noticed things have changed in the last few years, that people are more open than they were before, that there's actually an energetic spiritual shift that is occurring. You may have noticed it. What you are really truly noticing is it feels like that vibration's in the air, right? It feels like it's all around you. And that's because it is. And so at some point we are going to reach a tipping point of enlightenment, of light. And when this happens, then no man will be left behind. It will be like the 100th monkey, where they started cleaning their sweet potatoes. These monkeys are all on this island, cleaning their sweet potatoes over here, one at a time, day by day. Months are going by, and it's happening real slow. And then all of a sudden one day these scientists show up to observe, and every single monkey is washing their sweet potatoes. And the miraculous thing is that the monkeys on the other side of the island that have nothing to do with the monkeys over here, they on that same day, all of them then started washing their sweet potatoes too. This is an example of what the collective does. And this is what is going on our earth. This evolution of consciousness that is happening, it's happening right now in present time. It's happening in the now right now. It's just going to become more pervasive, and it's going to be harder to ignore the more people that gain this enlightenment. Now, one thing that we can do to speed up this process of evolution is meditation. Because when we take that intent and we take that specific time to set aside, what we are doing is our intent is to connect with the divine, right? Is to hear messages. And what are you going to get when you truly connect with the divine? Oh, you're just going to get downloads of truth that come to you. And that truth is going to be so sweet, and it's going to be so beautiful, and it's going to set you completely free. This is why it is so important to meditate rather than pray at God. Just listen. That's all that we need to do, is just listen. Now, I know that some people think that some people hold this high esteem and that they can talk to God and that these people cannot. And this is absolutely not true. This has to do with the fact that you don't practice it. That is the only reason why. These people who do not do this, who cannot hear from the divine, absolutely could if they tried, but they have some type of belief that they cannot, or that somebody else gets messages and they'll just take the messages from that person. Well, I hope that that person that you are gaining them from is extremely trustworthy. But I will tell you this, no one, nothing is more trustworthy than the divine in getting those channeled messages for yourself. You can take my word, you can know, you can hear the truth, it sounds a certain way, but wouldn't you rather be able to get these downloads and these things for yourself? This is what I wanted for myself. Why? I didn't even read books for a long time. I wouldn't listen to certain content and certain things because I didn't want anybody else's opinion to influence the truth that was coming to me directly from the divine. Because many people will write books, many people will have things, and it is colored and it is flavored. The fabric of their existence is so interwoven with dogma, with their own personal beliefs, that when the truth comes to them, they're clouding it, they're hearing part of it, but they're flavoring it up with things that they've already believed. Now, I don't want this. I want a completely clear, clean slate, which is why I made the Mental Cleanse series, so that we can have that clear, clean slate to work with. And as we work with that clear slate, what is truly happening is we are then getting messages that we are not flavoring with our own thoughts and our own mind. They are truly and genuinely from the divine. And so when you can meditate and you can put yourself into this, then you do not need to rely on other people's messages. You do not need to rely on this book to tell you that or that book to tell you that, because you can communicate with the divine your very own self. And therefore the messages that you get are not going to be clouded with what somebody else is going through, with their opinions, with their insights, or what it is that they got. You can do this then for yourself. And yes, everybody can do it, including you, my darling. Everybody can do it. And so, what a wonderful thing this is. So let's just do a guided meditation here right now so that you can experience what this is really like. Of course, if you're driving, you cannot do this. You can just listen to me, but do not do what it is that I'm telling you to do. Go and do this on your own time when you get home later. Set it and remember it so that you can do it later, or find a different meditation to do. Okay, so you're just going to start by closing your eyes and focusing on your breathing. And so with your eyes closed and your focus on your breathing, just taking a couple nice deep breaths. Exhaling nice and slow, nice and calm, calm exhale. So that calm exhale might be much slower than your deep inhale. But either way, keeping your rate of breathing extremely comfortable. Now you can imagine the number 10. Now, whether that number 10 is written in cursive, or whether it's a 1 and a 0, or whether it's in normal print, or whether you're just thinking about the number 10, it really doesn't matter, as you can let it go. And then now think about the number 9. And then let that number 9 drift away, and then the number 8 comes in. You could really think about the shape of that number 8, how nice it is, how smooth it is, and then you could let it go and think about the number 7. And as you think about that number 7, you could let it go, and you could now think about the number 6. Nice and smooth, that number 6, isn't it? And as you let it go, then think about the number 5. Now the number 5 is a little bit different than those other numbers, isn't it? Shaped a little bit different, appears a little bit different. And as you let that number go, the number of change, bring in the number 4. And as you bring in the number 4, oh, the number 4 feels nice. Now, think about the number 3. Nice and smooth, that number 3. And then bring it in the number 2. Excellent and wonderful. And now think about the number 1. Wonderful, so good. Nice deep breath. Now I want you to think about how your body feels when you're about to fall asleep at night. And you're going to repeat that to yourself. I'm going to go through each of the possibilities here, but you can just repeat to yourself in your mind that word that suits you the best. So heavy. Heavy. Relaxed. Relaxed. Comfortable. Comfortable. Light. Light. Deep. Deep. Relaxed. Relaxed. Heavy. Excellent. And so just notice how calm and comfortable you feel right now. And imagine that with your breath, that you could see your breath, that when you breathe it in, it could sweep all the way down to your toes. And then when you breathe out, that breath goes all the way out of your body. Just imagine that you could see that breath. Maybe it's a certain color, but every time you breathe, it sweeps from your head down to your toes. And every time that you breathe, it sends this wave of relaxation all the way from your head down to your toes, and it takes you deeper and deeper relaxed now. And it feels so wonderfully good just to breathe. Nice. Now I want you to imagine yourself, there's this place up above you, way up and out there, and I'm just going to count from 7 to 1, and I want you to float up to this place now. There's going to be Jesus, or angels and guides, or spiritual beings up in this place. And so 7, just let yourself start to be drawn up towards that place. 6, go farther and farther. 5, 4, get close to this place. 3, 2, 1. Now you arrive, and it's as if there's this big room and there's a bench in it, and Jesus is sitting on that bench, or whoever it is for you here today. So you use your mind. You can even pretend, and you go over and sit on that bench next to Jesus and ask him what he wants to tell you here today. So you just say, what is it that you want to tell me, Jesus? And now whatever messages or insights that you get, you will remember this. Now if you want to stay in this state for a little bit longer, of course you're more than welcome to stay here for as long as you want, and all you need to do right now is open your eyes, press pause on this video, and stay in this state as long as you want. If you're done and you're ready to come back, then you're just going to put a tiny little smile on your lips, and you're just going to bat your eyes all the way back open and all the way back into the room. Excellent, welcome back. So it's really, truly as simple as this. We can connect like this daily. The more that you do it, the better you'll get. Pretty soon you won't need me to guide you there. You'll just be able to close your eyes, count down, take yourself up into that room, and meet whoever it is that you need to meet in that room. Ask your question, and then you're just listening. You're just listening for the answer. And whatever comes to you, intuitively trusting that it is the truth and that it is right for you. So that's what I have for you here today, my lovely darlings. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you guys in the next one.